Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the California Nevada chat this Friday, the 13th. We're so glad that you joined us. My name is Nikki Gatch. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the Southern California PGA. On behalf of our president, Dr. Allison Kurt, as well as our colleagues from the Northern California PGA section, President Nick Bailey and Executive Director Caitlin Doyle, we welcome you to today's webinar. We hope your week has been great and your month so far. It's hard to believe we're into March Madness and almost wrapping up the first quarter of the year. We appreciate you joining us today. We once again have some great guests lined up for you today. In addition to our legislative update from Craig Kessler, Executive Director of the California Alliance for Golf, we are joined today by three prominent PGA general managers to share their insight on leadership, governance, and their journey to the general manager role. We're joined today by Kathy Matthews-Kane, Brian Tunstall, and Robin Shelton. I'll turn it over now to my colleague Caitlin Doyle, Executive Director of the Northern California PGA, for a quick welcome and some introductions. Caitlin?
Yeah, well, thanks, Nikki, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you all on this Friday. I know the weather has just been unbelievable, so hopefully you're getting out and playing some golf and having some fun with your members, and hopefully everyone's spring is off to a good start. So, a couple people for me to introduce this morning. So, I'm going to first start with Kathy Matthews-Kane. I'm going to read her bio here shortly. Kathy Matthews-Kane, PGA General Manager of the Colorado Club of Colorado, or the Country Club of Colorado, is just the second female president to serve the Colorado PGA since its inception in 1957, and now the 61st member of the Colorado PGA to be named Golf Professional of the Year. Kathy has been a PGA of America golf professional for over 15 years and an active member of the Finance Committee, the Employment Committee, and serves as a volunteer roles as a board member of the PGA section as well as the PGA Reach Colorado Foundation. Matthews-Kane currently serves as a PGA of America District 9 Director and sits at the co-chair of the National Employment Committee. She is a certified PGA of America golf professional in executive management. Kathy began her golf journey in the hometown of Corner Brook, Canada, a graduate of Iowa State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Exercise and Sports Science. Kathy was a three-time All-American, four-year varsity letter winner, and co-captain of the women's golf team. After graduation, she joined the staff of the Hole in the Wall Golf Club in Naples, Florida, as an assistant golf professional, and then moved to the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, Colorado, as an assistant golf professional. While at the Broadmoor, Matthews-Kane earned her MBA from the University of Colorado. Kathy, welcome. Thank you for being here with us, and a pleasure to have you. Next, I want to introduce Brian Tunstall, and Brian is actually an old boss of mine. So Brian hired me back in I don't even know 2010, 2013 at his club. So definitely near and dear to my heart for sure. So Brian graduated from the University of Oregon with honors in 1992, BS Business, Finance, and Marketing majors. First job in golf was in the bag room at Oswego Lake Country Club under PGA professional Brent Murray. Became an assistant professional at Columbia Edgewater in 1993 under Dan Hickson. PGA of America Class A member since 1995. Became a head golf professional at Columbia Edgewater Country Club in 1999. PGA certification in golf operations. Played in 2002, 2004, 2017 National PGA Club Professional Championships. A member of the 2023 Pacific Northwest PGA Hudson Cup professional team. Pacific Northwest Section PGA Golf Professional of the Year in 2015 and 2021, Oregon Chapter PGA Golf Professional of the Year in 2005, 2006, 2015, and 2021. He's a Pacific Northwest Section Bill Strasbaugh Award winner, past president and board member of the Pacific Northwest Section. 13 former assistant golf professionals have gone on to become head golf professionals, general managers, or other executive positions in the PGA of America. He currently serves as general manager of the club with over 32 years of experience and service to the club. He's also a member of the Club Managers Association of America, working towards his certification. Brian is married to his wife, Carrie, of over 28 years, children Avery, Owen, and Emery, and is an avid fly fisher person and amateur ornithologist. So, Brian, welcome. It's great to have you back, and I look forward to chatting today.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thanks, Caitlin. Welcome, Kathy and Brian. My pleasure to introduce Robin Shelton. Robin is one of the most accomplished and decorated club managers in our industry. He has quite an impressive list of qualifications. He's a double major from UC San Diego. He has his MBA from Pepperdine University. He's a PGA Master Professional. He's also has certification CCM and CCE from the Club Managers Association of America. He holds all of the advanced specialties certifications through the PGA certified program. And he also holds certifications through the Golfing Machine and TPI. He's the winner of the Bill Strasbaugh Professional Development and Golf Professional of the Year awards for the Southern California PGA. He's also a winner of the PGA National Professional Development Award this year, and we look forward to celebrating Robin later in the year at the PGA annual meeting. Robin has served on the board of directors for the Southern California PGA and served as our president in 2020 and 2021. Robin's born and raised in Orange County. He's worked as a director of golf, director of sales, and has held general manager positions throughout clubs in California. He currently serves as a general manager at Newport Beach Country Club in Newport Beach, California, which will be hosting an upcoming Champions Tour event here in a couple of weeks. So Robin, thank you. I have worked with you and known you for many, many years within the SCPGA and just really value not only our friendship, but your mentorship and guidance over the years, and you continue to do so. So thanks for taking time out of your very busy schedule, all of you, and we look forward to learning a little bit more. But Robin, we'll kick it off with you. If you just want to tell us a little bit more about yourself that we didn't just already hear in your bio, and maybe a little bit about your journey, your golf journey or your PGA journey.
Well, Nikki, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for the plug on the Hogue Classic. Brian, Kathy, nice to be here with you, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I think, hey, talking about my journey, hey, I started at the very bottom, as probably most of us did. I started in the bag room and carts, washing carts, and a few promotions later. I had a general manager say to me, "Hey, I think you can do more and be more than a director of golf because I think you have a gift and a skill, and I see something in you. I see something in you that you can have the potential to have more influence. And I would really like you to think about using your gifts that I think can have more influence and impacting more people." So that was the first time that, hey, I had the thought of becoming a general manager. And then, hey, once he told me that he believed in me and saw something in me, it's been nonstop ever since about, hey, trying to become a GM and then becoming the best GM I could possibly be. So that's my short answer to the question of, hey, how I've got here. There were a lot of ups and downs and bruises and highlights and wins and losses along the way, but I wouldn't trade any of it. But it started with somebody saying, "Hey, I believe in you. I see something in you." And how much more fun would it be to be a PJ member that has more influence over not just golf, but the entire club, the entire membership, and the entire staff?
Great, thank you. Caitlin?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll start with Brian on this one. Same question, Brian. Tell us a little bit more about yourself that we didn't already hear in your bio and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. So I guess how I got to be where I was, like being on the golf side of the club for many years. I saw a lot of general managers kind of come in, and they kind of seemed like they always a lot of times had one foot out the door. And so after watching 5 or 6 general managers come to the club and then bounce to a different position, our board I think finally realized that, well, we have somebody here that might be able to do the job. So they approached me with the idea. I wasn't really warm on it at first, but after I learned more about it and the realization that our club would really benefit from somebody with a little bit more of a golf background than a food and beverage background, I accepted the position in 2017, and it's been a really good learning experience from there. I know a lot about the outside part of our organization, turf and golf operations, and having a finance and marketing background kind of helps. But I'm learning more and more every day about food and beverage. That's definitely my weakness. But we all have rooms of areas that we can be better at. So I'm spending more of my time right now actually doing the club manager route and getting education certification that way. And I just try to echo that to my staff. Find the areas that you're strong and continue those strengths, but look for the opportunities to improve yourself. And that's kind of what drives me. Is I like to learn new things, and my ears are always open, and that's why I want to join this call, because I'm on here with people that are smarter than me, and I'm taking feverish notes in the background too.
That's perfect. Always learning. I love it. How about you, Kathy?
Gosh, these two gentlemen, it's just a pleasure to be in the room with you all. Thanks for inviting me. So, I too, like both of these gentlemen, I started in the bag room as well. Could hardly lift the bag, some of them, to the top in the old bag room down in Naples. But I also worked on maintenance crew in college. So, mowing greens and doing all the bits. But I was very fortunate, got to come to the Broadmoor for my first job and started in outside services, assistant golf professional, worked my way up to first assistant, senior assistant. And while I was there, I think I had a little bit of an epiphany. I think that I taught a lot. I did a lot of teaching at that time in my career. And I sort of realized that while I love teaching and I love to get people into the game, I really loved the business of the game. So I started, like Brian, trying to figure out ways to continue my education and learn. And for me, I felt like in order to be taken seriously to elevate my career, because everyone saw me as the golf pro, hey pro, that I went back and did my MBA. So I did that at night, which really helped me have confidence in the boardroom in terms of financials, financial planning, strategic planning, those things, and learning from people in other industries. Once I finished my MBA, I had the opportunity, interestingly enough, for a great general manager here in Colorado Springs. I left the Broadmoor, which was a very surprising move. A lot of phone calls came in. But I went to a small member-owned private club called Colorado Springs Country Club, and I was the membership director. And I will tell you that being a membership director, you actually learn, which Brian and Robin will probably agree with, you learn what the engine is that makes the entire private club run, right? You need to understand the attrition process, the pluses and minuses of members, the sales process, the onboarding process, all of that. So that was one of the most beneficial times in my career when I was just looking for a change. And I was really lucky to have that opportunity. And then while I was there, I got recruited to come take this job at the Country Club of Colorado. So I have been the GM here now since 2014. So believe that. I started when I was very young. But I've gotten to manage some really amazing capital projects here. I have a spa. I have a 9,000 square foot fitness center, 6 pools, tennis, pickleball, and we're in the process of building a new clubhouse. So I will tell all of you on the call that are wondering, how do I become a GM? I don't know everything. Well, the bottom line is neither do the three of us. And at some point you have to jump in, leverage your mentors, your friends, and ask a lot of questions. And often we learn by doing. So hopefully that gives a little color for you all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said for sure. Trial by fire. I'm gonna snake it back on this next question, revolving around governance. So obviously all three of you have been presidents of your section. And, obviously, Kathy, you serve as the national board of director as well. So how important is it to serve? And, for maybe an assistant pro listening in, what advice would you give them if they wanted to start serving their chapter or their section? And, what have you learned from it? So Kathy, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Caitlin. Honestly, it's been the biggest honor of my career to be able to be seated in the national boardroom. But my biggest piece of advice would be raise your hand, get involved. You can start small. I often get the question of, well, I want to be on a committee, Kathy. Great. Well, what committee would you like to be on? And then they're like, anyone, put me on a committee. And I would flip the script on that. And I would say, what is your passion? What's your strength, or what is something you want to learn more about? And be intentional about how you start to serve. So maybe you love to play and you love tournaments. So you might start serving on the tournament committee. You may love teaching. You might serve on your teaching and coaching committee. I mean, there's any number of ways that you can get involved, but just the fact that you get involved and you start to be surrounded by golf professionals from, throughout the region, I've learned more from my friends and colleagues in those rooms. It's been absolutely amazing. And they're the first people I call because I promise Brian, Robin, and myself will frequently get things across our desk like, wow, okay, that's a new one. And you have to phone a friend and say, that wasn't on my bingo card, but have you heard about this? So, getting networked and raising your hand, I would say, are the most important things.
For sure. Great advice. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to echo what Kathy just said. I started out on the assistants committee a million years ago, like in the mid '90s, because I love to play and I wanted to have more assistants playing on our winter assistants tour. So those of you that know the Northwest, it's not very nice in the winter, but we try to have some kind of networking opportunities for assistants to play golf around the kind of December through February range. And I would probably also say that when you are fortunate enough to get the opportunity to get involved, you learn way more than you ever put in. So I have benefited so much from, just not only board experience, but just from the people that you meet. Like, all the people on this call, I'm going to be poking Robin and Kathy and Nikki for advice on random things, and having a big network of people around you just makes you stronger. It kind of reminds me of we all went through COVID. And when I was, at this club during COVID, I had a great resource of professionals and general managers that figuring out what everybody's doing when the newest legislation would come through that you can now do this. It was just a huge help to have so many people as a resource. So I'm very eternally grateful for that. I try to keep those relationships strong to the day.
Awesome. Robin, we'll go over to you. What about you on this question?
I'm going to piggyback on Kathy's answer about, hey, when you sign up to be on a committee, be on the one that you want to be on. When I started, I said, hey, put me on anything. Put me in, coach. I'll go anywhere. I'll play any position. And I got on the tournament committee. And that's probably the worst committee for me to possibly be on. I play in 4 events a year, and they're all team partner events. So it wasn't much for me to get excited about. But it did shift me into, okay, this isn't for me. Let me get into education. And that's where it was really good and where I thrived. But as Kathy says, raise your hand. I don't know if anybody kind of studies improv comedy, but there's a story that I tell that there's an idea behind improv comedy is you say yes and to anything anybody ever asks you to do. And I think it's some of the best career advice you can have is say yes and when somebody asks you to do something. So when somebody at your club says, hey, can you help cover the food and beverage tonight because we're short? Yes, and can you teach me more about it next week? Or hey, when somebody says, hey, we need you to clean the bathroom, yes, and hey, can you help me learn how the scheduling works kind of in this department? And same thing when it comes to signing up for something. Say yes and say yes, I will do it, and I'd like to learn something more related to it. So I think saying yes and but saying yes and as often as you can is really good advice to learn more and grow your career.
Love that. I can't believe that you served on the tournament committee.
Right? Isn't that like the worst place?
Or how I forgot that. Well, I'm so glad that you found we've eventually got you on the education committee because you've done amazing things, and we're still doing the Catalyst, which you created many years ago. So while you're hot, Robin, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to shift gears to teamwork and culture. And Robin, I know this is so important to you, not only with your team at the club, but also the teams that you serve on, whether that was at the section level, on committees or on the board. But how do you create that culture, and how do you, from a club standpoint, people try to want to just stay in their lane and stay in their little silo. How do you make sure that there's cohesion amongst all of your departments at the club?
Oh God, we could spend an hour, we could
Yeah.
spend hours, we could spend a weeks and all day long talking about the idea. Talking about culture, and I think that hey, a lot of us have probably worked for a bad GM. A lot of us have worked for a bad leader, a bad manager. And hey, that was also part of what prompted me to want to become a GM, was to say, hey, I've seen enough of the bad and want to be the one who creates the culture, who creates the atmosphere that people come to work at. So I think that culture isn't, it's everything, and it's the only thing that matters. Because at the end of the day, hey, members can tell when our teammates or our employees, they can see the twinkle in their eye if they have it. If they don't, they can see it in their face if they're lethargic and don't want to be there. So culture has to be priority one, two, and three. And I believe it's our job as general managers to define the culture and then promote and protect it at every step of the way. And as far as, hey, how do you do that? Like I say, that's tons of seminars to follow it. But I think we don't have staff meetings at our club that talk about events. I think a lot of clubs, when you have a meeting, you go around and you say, tell me what's going on. Hey, if we're all sharp enough, we should know what's going on. We have a calendar, everybody's got access to it, we should know. But we do ours more culture based, and we call them alignment meetings to make sure, hey, we are all in alignment with our values and our vision.
Love that. Thank you. Brian, how about you? How do you create that culture and make sure everybody's truly on a team and working together?
Yes. Robin must have just read my staff meeting's mind. We just finished staff meeting 9 to 10 o'clock. We this week's topic was resetting our core values and our vision statement. So a lot of clubs and obviously our association, has vision statements and core values. So we do too as a club. We're just rechecking it. Every year we recheck it about this time as we head into season, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So our department head, our director of agronomy, our head professional, marketing membership, the whole team is there. And we're just talking about, does our vision statement still resonate with us? Our vision statement as a club is year-round championship golf and club experience. But for our staff, we just want it shorter and simpler. It's just championship experience. So when we talk about events or putting something maybe new on the calendar, we always refer back to the vision. Like, is this a championship experience we're going to put out there? So I think just having that check-in with the team and creating that constant dialogue that we're just focusing on the way that we all want to be treated to each other. And it does, alignment's a great word, Rob, but I might kind of steal that one. Getting your staff aligned is that's definitely the key. If we have one department that kind of does things one way and another department that treats people the other way, then that's not a good organization.
I've got a great book that I'll send you, Brian.
All right, I appreciate it.
Book club developing from this. Awesome. Kathy, how about you?
I'm going to add my address to Robin's list. I would say that, culture, it's not one thing. It's a collection of so many elements of the club. And I might flip this a little bit in that one of the things, if I were to sit here and tell you that we're perfect about culture, I'd be lying. Like it's every day. It's trying to work through where the team's going, the strategy. I mean, all the things these two gentlemen have spoken about. But I think when culture breaks down, it ultimately comes down to communication breakdowns. So that's one of the areas that we're working on as a team, is trying to make sure that we're communicating effectively, especially as it relates to, maybe down a couple of levels, or, department heads, doing that with their team. Because sometimes when issues come to my desk, because again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're perfect at this. I'm like, wow, oh, that's how you understood that? Okay, we've got to reset the plate here. And I'm confident these gentlemen have had the same scenario in the past as well. So that's something I'd say that we are trying to work on every day, and be consciously kind, which is one of our values. And then the other piece is we have a resort in addition to our country club. So trying to align those two is an everyday commitment, and it's a heavy lift for a lot of leaders. But in the end, once the team's all rowing in the same direction, then that's the secret sauce.
Great ideas there. Thank you. I took some notes myself. But yeah, so I'm going to circle back to Kathy, and this will be on kind of just finance questions. So obviously, a lot of GMs come from the food and beverage background or the golf background. And when did you kind of realize that obviously knowing numbers is just as important as the guest experience? And how did you go, educate yourself on getting that financial background? I mean, obviously, Brian, I know you have a lot of skill set with that from your degree, but, how did you guys educate yourself on the finance part of the club? So Kathy, I'll start with you.
Sure. So doing my MBA so that I wasn't intimidated by spreadsheets, numbers, P&L, because I'm confident for those of you young professionals on the call, you've probably heard something to the effect of at some point in your career, well, we can't do that because it's not in the budget. So I was like, okay, well, show me the budget. What's in the budget? How do we derive the budget? How is the budget built? I want to understand what drives those numbers. And that's frankly one of my frustrations as a GM. If I hear, oh, well, we can't do that, it's not in the budget, I'm like, well, are we sure? I set the budget. Let's figure it out. If we need something, we're going to get it, right? So it's asking questions. I also sought advice from people that are talented in this area that are accountants or in other businesses that love to play golf and pick their brain about how I could improve my skills in that area. But frankly, it's just understanding the basic dynamics of how it works, what builds it, what goes into it. It's basically tracking your expenses all year and then planning for them next year and planning for other things that you might need in the following year. It's not as what's the word I'm looking for? It shouldn't be as intimidating as maybe some of the young professionals think it is. And instead, once you get the basic plan of it, just like your household budget, right? You got your revenue, you got your salary coming in, you got your expenses, and you don't want to be in the red in theory. So, and ask questions and learn from friends. But that's kind of how I would answer that.
Yeah, that's great advice. What about you, BT?
Yeah, I would BT. She's too cold to be BT. I would say that yeah, for me, for the areas of the club that I knew well, obviously the golf operation and greens fees and card fees and merchandise sales were the easy numbers to figure out. But learning about my fungicide budget, of what our superintendent is spraying on the golf course, you got to just sit down and walk through what are you spraying, why are you spraying it, when do you spray it, how much do you need, and so I think some of the tools over time that you create to have a deep understanding when you have to present the budget to your board or your finance committee of, hey, we need $160,000 in fungicide, and here's why. This is for microdocum nival. This is for this disease, et cetera. And here's when we applied in the Northwest. Down to the dish pit, like walk in the dish pit, walk in your loading bay. And if you want to learn about your food and beverage numbers, look at how things come in the door, how they go out the door, where they're prepared, where they're stored. That's the best way to learn for me, is just walking around, asking questions. And the more I know, the better I can help. When a manager gets in a situation where they have to struggle with food costs because my vendors' prices are going up so much, you can have a better conversation with them to look at potential vendor switches or inventory turns, et cetera. So I would say just having an inquisitive nature, always asking, tell me more is the best way to learn. For me, at our club, it seems that the more you ask for information, the more the managers want to tell you about their areas, and they like to show off their areas and how much they know about their areas, and it generally turns into a win-win conversation.
Great advice. How about you, Robin?
I honestly don't remember the exact question because I was taking notes as Kathy was talking about communications, about how important that is. And I was like, wow, it really is. Because, depending on how many employees you have, they're the ones on the front line, and then we got to make sure they're saying the right things and communicating. But I think as far as about the financial piece of it, told you my journey had some ups and downs along the way. I got laid off from a position. I was unemployed for about 8 months at one point in my career. And a mentor of mine said, hey, you should use this time productively and reach out to people and ask them for coffee, ask them for lunch, donuts, breakfast, and just see if you can get an hour with them. And that was one of the best things that happened in my career, was being able to talk to, it was about 30 different GMs, and said, who were willing to give me an hour of their time. And one of them that will always stand out to me, we were talking about food and beverage, and food is hard. I was not a GM at this time. I was still a quote director of golf. And he said, food is no different than merchandise. It's a cost of sales. You have a cost of sales. You need to figure out the right cost of sales and what price you're going to sell it at and what you need to keep buying. The only difference is food ends up perishing, so you got to turn it quicker. And it was like, yeah, it is the same business. It's the same thing. It's cost of sales, just got to turn it quicker. And that one, kind of that perspective, was like, hey, this isn't overwhelming. Food and beverage is not this big, scary monster that everybody makes it out to be. And hey, I'm a golf pro by nature. I'm a PGA member and all that stuff, but I've had the most impact of any of my clubs in the food and beverage land because that's usually the stuff that needs the most help. So food and beverage is not as scary as people make it out to be.
Thanks, Robin. So talking about scary stuff, right? We know technology changes almost daily, and we have to embrace it. So how do you and your teams, balance embracing technology and what's available, whether that be AI or, different booking systems maybe you have, but also maintaining that high touch personal service, that we all want at every facility, but especially at a private club, where members expect that. How do you work that balance?
Oh man, I got three stories here, and I will try to make them somewhat quick in regards to that of the technology piece. One, we have a member of our club who is the CEO of Chipotle, and we were playing golf one day, and he's like, "Hey, you got to have an app, and your app's got to be great." And we just started talking about, hey, he's like, "The app's got to be great." And I don't remember the number that he told me how much they spent on their app, but it's a gazillion. It's a lot. It blew my mind how many. Uh, and they have like 85 people working on their app all the time at any one time and making updates. And he said something to the effect of, "Hey, you can get a great app for like 10 million bucks." I was like, "For what?" And I said, "Hey, would you rather me as a member spend $10 million on golf course equipment or on an app?" And he's like, "I take it back, golf course equipment." Because hey, it's different. Like our industry doesn't necessarily rely on technology as much as others do. Yep, maybe the minority position, but I don't think, hey, we need it as much as we think we do. We need it, but we don't need an app with 85 people on it. It's going to cost us $10 million. Danny Meyer, you may remember the name of Danny Meyer. He's got an incredible book called Setting the Table. He's a restaurateur, a hospitalian, if you will. And I think first introduced the concept of hospitality as a business strategy. But he said, hey, all good ideas can be ripped off because you can see them, but you can't take a picture of somebody's heart, of how it made people feel, and how you make people feel. Nothing can replace that. And okay, we will always be relevant and always needed in people's lives because they want to feel great. And hey, we're one of the only places that can happen. And hey, we need to focus more on training our people and our staff to be able to communicate and deliver that hospitality and deliver it where, hey, if we took a picture of somebody's heart, how excited and happy they would be. And then my last story, hey, AI, Chat GPT, it's probably the number one this site in my browser. Uh, all of my communications to members, I draft them up, and then I say, please make this sound more intelligent, which it's pretty easy for Chat GPT to do for me because I'm not very intelligent on the drafts. And then I'm actually using it right now on communications because we've had some situations here where I've been disappointed in our staff, how we've handled things. And ultimately, hey, that comes back to me as leader to make sure we're training. So I'm using Chat GPT to make scenarios and provide possible solutions and responses to certain things. And we've kind of actually rolled it out last week, and it's been really, really good so far for us.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, AI is here, right? It's here to stay, and we have to embrace it. I know there's been a lot of talk about it. We talked about it at the PGA annual meeting. I know a lot of sections are bringing AI education. We are on Monday at our spring meeting. We'll have an AI education session with Kevin Scott and Allison and Michael Gainey, and just sort of three different ways of how to use it. Whether you're an operator or just in regular everyday life, or if you're a coach, how do you leverage it? I think we have to ensure to our professionals that AI is not going to replace you as a golf instructor, but there are ways for you to leverage it to make you even better. So, Kathy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking notes of Robin here. But look, I'm currently, I feel like I'm just barely using AI the way I should, but some of the things that the lens I'm using is how can I leverage AI to get me out of my office more? So things like Robin said, where I'm running communications through there, it speeds me up. Before, if I had to write, I'm dealing with a disciplinary issue with a member right now. It saved me a good 30 minutes of, okay, how should I word that? How should I make this more succinct? How should I? So it's that sort of, you still need to know the subject matter. You need to understand the framework of what you're trying to accomplish. And obviously prompting, which you'll probably have in your seminar, is very key to how AI can support us. And then I would also say that you have to then review what AI spits out, because I'm sure both of these gentlemen, I've asked my team for things, and I'm like, don't just send me the chat GPT version of what I just asked you, because it's way obvious. So you've got to go back through and make sure you've read it. But again, I'm trying to use AI to save me time in the office. I'm challenging our team if we're trying to make sure our systems are working better together to save them time in their operations, things from everything from flyers to communication, things like that. And also problem solving, right? It's amazing some of the things it spits out that maybe you wouldn't have thought of it when you're trying to diagnose or manage the situation in terms of repair or what have you. So I feel like we're just on the cusp of this. We're learning together, and I'm trying to learn from everybody I can of how can I better deploy this to make me more effective, to go back to running the club, which our tagline is we're trying to create memories, right? So I don't create memories in my office.
Yeah, great point. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, same. I took a couple notes there too. Thank you, Kathy. I think I'll give one example of how it's really helped at our club. So I really encourage our department heads to send weekly messages to the membership, especially with golf. People want to know what's going on the golf course. So our director of agronomy sends out a Friday message every Friday with updates on what's going on the golf course. We're getting ready to aerify, hopefully on Monday if the weather holds, and he's prepping the membership for we're going to aerify, et cetera, et cetera. AI has really helped with those messages because I like to proof the messages to make sure that they're politically correct. A handful of years ago, I was on vacation and somebody sent out a weekly message, and it had an unintended effect where it offended some people he used the word gals, and some of the females were kind of upset. They felt like it was not a politically correct term. So we now through all communications through AI just to kind of make these professional and make sure we don't offend members. We're trying to get information in a quick time to them, and sometimes waste makes haste. I said that wrong. Haste makes waste. So just throwing it through AI to make sure that what the messages that you're really intending to send out are just they're proper and they're professional. So that saves us a lot of time because I used to have to literally proofread everybody's kind of weekly emails, and it's kind of one less thing that I don't really need to do now.
Yeah, great ideas. There's lots of notes here. Man, we're all gonna have to share these notes after. So another question for you all, just obviously, you're all at busy spots, year round, obviously Kathy, I know you have a little slower season, but, how do you manage kind of burnout and just, demanding members with your staff and managing morale and making sure that the staff is not burning out throughout the year? So I'll start with you, Brian.
Well, we do from department heads and then through departments, we kind of require quarterly get-togethers with the teams. So every quarter, the turf team, they have till May 31st. We actually talked about that today. They got till May 31st to have a kind of a get-together with their group. Go off-site, go have lunch somewhere, find a little time to recharge your batteries. That's one area I think that's been pretty successful. The other is really just checking in with your team. I meet with every department head for an hour once a week. And, as we get into the off season, it's like, hey, what vacations you got planned? What time are you going to take off? Recharge your batteries. I want to make sure my staff uses their vacation. I really don't like it when staff, I couldn't get to use it. I want to roll it over. I want people to take the time off in the winter. So just kind of continually checking in on them with it. It is a thing. We all work in a business where in Portland, Oregon, the summer days are really long. Those are busy months. 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. days that's how many hours we're open. And you don't need to be here all the time. You just need to be here anytime. That's kind of my mantra.
Great ideas there. How about you, Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, this is really pertinent in Colorado right now. So it's 70 degrees today on the Front Range of Colorado. For those of you who don't know, it's pretty it's a high desert climate. So we do tend to play golf almost 12 months a year, and we have this year. And so I'm anxious to hear Robin's answer behind me because he's a clearly year-round facility. But
thanks for rubbing it in.
What?
Thanks for rubbing it in as we're talking about
I
balance.
know. But, like Brian, trying to make sure our team's using PTO is important. A new way that I've had to change how I manage and how I grew up through the system is remote work. And different schedules in what I would perceive as our off time, or maybe Robin, I don't know that you have any of that, but so like my accountant, I'll say, for example, our accountant can clearly work from home a lot more than maybe she's here. And that's of high value to her. And, for others in the winter working, 4 10s or 4 8s or whatever that looks like, to then have some longer weekends to try to get away from the operation is important before we hit the real busy summer. But one of the ways I think the other big thing as a leader is what you value is probably going to surprise you to find out not necessarily what your team values. And that's been a learning thing for me. So some of our younger professionals are really motivated by money because they're trying to either buy their first house or get into a nicer apartment or buy a car. And so they're motivated by more hours and compensation or bonuses or whatever that might look like. Some of my more tenured team are not at all motivated necessarily by money. Obviously, they have their salaries, but they want time, or they'd like other benefits. Like I had, so I put out a questionnaire, like, what motivates you? And one of the responses was, I really like to have club logo gear. And I was like, oh, okay, hadn't thought of that. But what a neat way, now that I know that this person would love a new sweater or a new hat or a what have you for a job well done. That's so trying to reward performance in different ways that hopefully then keeps them motivated to want to do a great job. So that was a roundabout way to answer your question, Nikki.
No, that was great. That's a really good idea. I love the questionnaire and the survey and just getting that direct feedback. Awesome. How about you, Robin?
Oh, okay. Maybe pulling a minority view here. Sorry, let's backtrack. I'm in Newport Beach. I'm in Southern California. We are 12 months a year. We do not stop. We are a family club, and I believe that this is simultaneously the best club on the planet to work at and also the hardest club because of the number of events we do, the family events, the social, the catering business. But that said, I don't believe in balance. I don't think balance is a thing. I think, and I use a teeter-totter analogy. Hopefully you all have been on teeter-totter, remember it. But I think the only way to be balanced is to stand in the middle and do absolutely nothing. And I think it's more about, the integration, especially in today's world, because this thing's going to go off when you're at home, or this thing's going to go off at some other times. But I think it's a teeter-totter. It's like you just run back and forth. Sometimes work wins, and sometimes personal life wins. Hey, when you're on vacation, your personal life better win. When you're here at the club during member guest week, the work side is going to win. So I think it's like a teeter-totter running back and forth. Vacations, yes, those are important. And I actually have one of those, I don't know what you call it, like a wall calendar that you can write outside my office with like an expo pen, and everybody has to put their vacations on there. And I say vacations go on the calendar first. And we bring that about once a month to our staff meetings. And if your vacations are not on there, I'm like, hey, you're being dumb and you're being silly. And I actually joked around the other day and I said, hey, raise your hand if you have, over 200 hours of vacation accrued. And I'm like, look around, those are the dumb people in the room. So make sure you take your vacations, and we talk about it at least once a month. Make sure they are scheduled and visible and that everybody sees them. Lastly, Kathy said something that I thought was pretty profound. And we talk about here at the club. Hey, if you as the leader make what's important to others important to you, they will make what's important to you important to them. All right. So I'll say it again. If you make what's important to others important to you, they will make what's important to you important to others. So I can probably tell you, hey, all of my department managers report to me what's important to them. And a lot of times it's family or soccer games and kids practices. So we have a rule here that if your kid has a sports game, you better not be working. because that's important for a couple people. Hey, I know that, hey, certain people want to take, a extra day off after certain holidays, that, hey, we make what's important to them important to us, and therefore they're willing to sell their soul for the club when you prioritize what's important to them.
Great insights for sure. Thank you all for that. We have one more, and it's a fun one, so don't get too worried. But I'll start with Kathy on this one. So, what is your dream foursome, and what is your favorite golf course here in California? And you are with Nikki, and you are with me, so I don't know. Choose a section you want to choose, but there you go.
I'm going to answer this two ways. So, dream foursome. I get asked all the time what my favorite golf course is, and I've been fortunate to play Cypress Point, which is on the top top tiers of my list. So I would answer that. But when people ask me either like my favorite course, I say it's my favorite golf experience. I could be on any golf course, even a very small 9-hole public course in my hometown. It's about who you're playing with. And it's about the fun you have with your foursome. So I would say my dad, my brother, and one of my best friends from college who we enjoy. We call it a walking cocktail party. So there's my dream foursome.
That's perfect. That sounds like a blast. What about you, Robin?
Oh man, I didn't think I was going next in the lineup.
Oh no, you can toss it to BT.
But I can go. I can think on my feet here. I would tell you, hey, my favorite golf courses, I'm going to pick two. It's Cypress Point and Shadow Creek in Las Vegas. My wife and I have some pretty cool memories. As far as a foursome, it doesn't matter who's in the group as long as my wife is there. But if I got to be real particular, I would ask the starter for a fivesome. It would be my wife, myself, Jesus, Thomas Jefferson, and Arnold Palmer. But I'm definitely asking for a fivesome.
That's awesome. What about you, Brian?
So being in Oregon, I got more courses in Oregon I love to play, but the foursome is more important. For me, it'd definitely be my older brother, Mark, who's a PGA professional, owner-operator of his own club in Lebanon, Oregon. You guys can Google that later on. And then my two sons, Owen and Emery. Our daughter, she would drive the beverage cart around. She doesn't really want to play, but she'd drive the beverage cart and hopefully service. But just hanging out with my two sons, they both want to beat me so bad, and it'll never happen. So looking forward to the next time we get to play with them.
That's great. Thank you guys. Those were awesome answers, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom this morning with our sections. We really appreciate it, and I know I took a lot of notes. I'm sure everyone did as well. So appreciate all of your guys' time. You're welcome to stick around just for the last 10 minutes if you can. Otherwise, we know that you guys are all very busy. So thank you again, and take care. And I'm going to now introduce Executive Director for California Alliance for Golf, and Craig Kessler. I'll have you hop on now. Thank you all for being here.
Okay. So we don't have a lot of time left on today's webinar. I think that's what this is. So I'm going to just discuss two bills that we're working with in this session. One we're actually sponsoring. It's the golf industry's bill in the state of California. And the other one's another run of a bill that we've opposed in the past. The fact that I'm only going to focus on two bills should tell you that this is a pretty good year in that we're not swatting down troublesome bills, at least not yet. There are some bills that are in the form of spot bills, which means they have a title, which can often be a little bit misleading, but they don't have any substance yet. So I won't. So maybe I was a little too optimistic, a little too early, but we'll see. I get a good feeling about it. It's an election year, and controversial things tend not to happen in election years. So we're doing something that, as far as I can tell, as far as I know, and I put that out there and no one's contradicted me, no golf industry in any state has actually sponsored a bill. What that means is that again, when you look at legislation, you may think that all the bills are run by the authors. They're authored by the authors, but generally some organization exists as the sponsor. And we're sponsoring a bill in this particular session that goes to sort of closing the loop on a problem that we partially solved at other levels, at local and regional levels in the municipal world, on what I'll call, to cut to the chase, illicit tee brokering or reselling of tee times without the permission of the owner or the manager of the facility, and thus taking a lot of revenue out of a system without actually doing anything or putting anything back. This is really critical in the municipal sector because most of the time, in fact, virtually all of the time, given the supply to demand ratio in Southern California, anyway, urban California, all throughout the state, governments consciously manage the prices so that schools sometimes play for free, juniors play for incredibly low rates. There are senior discounts, discounts given to local clubs, community groups, and the whole idea on the golf properties that the public owns, which is about 1 out of 4 in the state, that there's a measure of price control and don't simply allow a supply-demand ratio that would otherwise cause extraordinarily high prices. You would be surprised how high they would go. Don't do that in the public interest. So, but that creates an opportunity for those to see to see a chance, see a way to make a lot of money off a system. And like I said, the money, makes it very difficult for governments to pursue that mission, which then really feeds so much of the industry, including the private clubs we hear here today. Many of the people who are members of their clubs, many of those who make it to their finance committees and their boards are not to the country club born. They began golf at another level, and they were very successful in professional practices or in businesses. And when people make a lot of money in life, they buy expensive cars, expensive homes, and they play golf at an expensive level as well. And so, but that whole infrastructure only exists because of the infrastructure that existed for more than 100 years in the game of golf at the local or municipal level. So to protect that, like I said, a lot of policies were adopted that mitigated the problem. But at the end of the day, whether it's the city of Los Angeles or the city of San Diego, I mentioned those two for a reason I'll get to in a moment. There's a tool they don't have, and that is they've been laughed at by some of these brokers who have told them, fine, what we're doing is perfectly legal, and they're absolutely correct. There's nothing in the California's codes, civil codes or otherwise, that makes that practice illicit. This particular piece of legislation, which ultimately, when it gets into committee, it's going to change its name from what you may have seen in some publications to something that's a little bit more digestible. I even can't remember the name of the first name of the bill. It's going to be called Protecting Access to Reservations Act, or otherwise known as the PAR Act. Yes, it's a little too cute, but it's something to remember. And what it would do is simply make an unfair business practice any arrangement between a third-party reseller and a golf course or a golf course operator that's not by consent of the parties, otherwise known as a written agreement. It's important that I would be very clear. This does not do anything to upset what is a very, very ubiquitous business which benefits golfers, whether it's Golf Now, I named them, but they're certainly not the only one in the space, just the biggest, or any of the others that are by written agreement, mutual consent. It's a give, it's a take, it's a business relationship. What this bill goes after are those who had no business relationship and basically were taking advantage of what I would say is the good intentions and the goodwill of municipal governments in the state of California. So we're sponsoring it. Our author is Chris Ward, who represents mostly the city of San Diego in the state assembly. And he happens to chair the assembly committee to which the bill will be referred. So those of you who understand politics will understand that that's quite a significant achievement for anyone sponsoring a bill in California. In addition, we already have the written letters of support from the city of San Diego, from the city of Los Angeles. I'm expecting one at any moment from the county of Los Angeles, and we'll extend that beyond before the bill goes to its first hearing at probably the first week of April, right after the spring break. So far, everything looks pretty good. Again, we may get the support of the League of Cities and other organizations that are sort of organizations of governments in the same way that the California Alliance for Golf is an organization of allied golf associations and organizations in California. So all is looking good, but I'm sure all of you remember from whether it's high school or college, how a bill becomes a law. It's a long and arduous process, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. but our process is off to about as good a start as you can have, and we're going to continue to remain diligent, not take anything for granted. The default position when you oppose a bill is assume it's going to pass, and a default position when you support a bill, or in this case particularly sponsor it, assume it's going to fail. And if you proceed along those two lines, you'll be in good shape. And expect to see a little bit more publicity on this bill as things move forward. Now, the bill we're opposing is and I'm going to be very specific as to the reasons for that opposition, because the reasons matter, is another run to take the state of California to permanent standard time. Now, yes, that would be a financial blow to the golf industry everywhere in California, even including the desert, where yes, people play at certain times of the year at 5:30 in the morning, or they're really looking forward to playing at 4:30 in the morning. And even in golf-rich Coachella Valley, there are ordinances against starting certain pieces of equipment before certain hours. So just because the sun is up doesn't mean necessarily that the golf course is ready to receive members, or in the case of resorts, to receive public players. Reasons for our opposition is not because it hurts the golf industry economically. We actually support a lot of things that in essence cost us a lot of money. But the test is always, do those things represent compelling societal interest in moving forward? So whether it's electrifying gas-powered equipment, investing in all kinds of modern irrigation technology, meeting certain conservation mandates, meeting all kinds of permitting requirements on anything that's discharged, water in particular, from a golf course, those are things that golf needs to get on board and support. And of course, by supporting, we can become part of the solutions as well. In this particular case, there is as much, if not more, evidence in favor of permanent daylight time over permanent standard time, as there is very meager evidence in favor of the first proposition. It's just that the first proposition is being pushed by sleep disorder researchers whose worlds revolve around that very fact. And no surprise, they come up with a discernible and quantifiable difference in an advantage to sleep patterns based upon permanent standard time over permanent daylight time. However, there are other health considerations, there are property crime considerations, highway safety considerations, and a whole boatload of economic considerations well beyond golf. Tourism would be a great example, and some quality of life considerations. Nobody recreates at 4 in the morning. Almost everyone does in the twilight hours. And the interesting thing about this is something that Brian mentioned when he spoke. His club is open till 9:30. And if you go up to Seattle, they're open till 10 o'clock at a certain time of year. Well, in San Diego, it's pretty much pitch black by 8 o'clock, even on June 21st. So how that coincides with the theory about the preference of our circadian rhythms is something the sleep disorder specialists have now, I posed that question, but they never quite really answer it. So this bill has very little prospect of passing. If for no other reason, it's unpopular. And for another reason, it requires a 2/3 vote of both houses of the legislature, because in 2018, the California electorate, by a 60% margin, voted to go to permanent daylight time as soon as the United States Congress passes a bill that would enable the state to take that option. So because that was on an initiative, and that had to be approved that had to have approval of 2/3 of the legislature in order to get on the ballot, this needs to have the same 2/3. So those are the two things we're most focused on in this session of the legislature. If I had had more time, I would have updated you a little bit on the status of the discussions about the Colorado Basin. But we don't have that time today. Suffice it to say, it's pretty ugly out there, and the Rocky Mountain snowpack has never been in worse condition. Lake Powell, Lake Mead are near dead pill status, which means that the water gets shut off and it doesn't go to Arizona and it doesn't go to Southern California. Those negotiations are hot and heavy. The federal government's going to come in at the end of this year if we can't come to agreement, and the states are not going to come to agreement, and force one of 4 options that they've published. It's just a question of which option is worse than which. They're all bad options for Southern California, and ultimately those reflect on Northern California as well, and it's a disaster for Arizona. But maybe we'll save that for next month. along with a report on how I'm still optimistic about the bill we're sponsoring in the legislature becoming a law at the end of the year. And with that, it's 11 o'clock, and I'm going to yield my time.
Thank you, Craig, and thanks for all your updates. And I know we'll all be together at the California Capitol here next month, actually on the 15th of April. So we'll be there for the day that day. So look forward to being there together. And I know we'll have lots of updates on the next call. So yeah, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate the time this morning. I know we had a really good session today. So there's I'm sure some follow-up questions, and we're happy to get those answered for you. If you did call in and you're on the phone, make sure you reach out to your section office to record the PDR credits. We are going to be back together on April 17th is our hope. So mark the calendars for April 17th. We don't have a speaker just yet, but we will let you know as soon as possible. And Nikki, do you have any other closing remarks before we head out?
All good. Hope everybody has a great weekend.
Great. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for joining.